I don't understand why no one is talking about the single thing that makes vibe coding reliable. And it's not even hard, so anyone can do it, even if they're not coders. If you are vibe coding an app or a SaaS, stop vibe coding from the prompt, because there is a much better way. And I'm sure this video will change the way you vibe code forever. The three things I'm going to show you are: 1, how to vibe code an app that is actually reliable; 2, step by step what you need, but not the theory, the actual thing to do. So we're going to do, it's going to be hands-on. And even if you're not a coder, you can do it. And number 3, how easy is to make your app unbreakable. So first of all, let me start debunking a myth. If you think that developers spend all their time writing code, think again, because that's only 10 to 20% of what they do. Why I am saying this? I'm saying this because if you vibe code with the only goal to get code that somehow works, you will end up with something that looks like this, or maybe like this, or this. And I think you get the point. If it works, it doesn't mean it's a good product. So when a new developer joins a company, the first thing they do is understand the rules and principles that their team is using. And we need to do exactly the same thing. AI is our new team member, and we need to explain the rules and the principles to follow. Once we have explained the rules and the principles, we move on explaining what we want to build. And this initial work is essential to vibe code reliable apps. So now that we know this, let's see how we can do it practically. For my example, I used Cursor. You can use this with different agents. If you look at this page, you can use it with many other things. So, but what is this? This is SpecKit. SpecKit is an add-on for coding agents and helps with AI-assisted coding. So it does 3 things. Thing number 1, explains the rules and the principle of your project to your AI. Thing number 2, it helps define what to build. And number 3, it breaks it down into small tasks. So what I'm going to show you now is the recording of my interaction to explain SpecKit. The entire video took more than 4 hours. So now I'm going to go through all the steps of the creation, saving you 4 hours of time. So it's going to take around 5 minutes. And the important thing is that I have written for this 0 lines of code and was only prompts. I have completed the code with the backend and the front end, and the code is accessible on GitHub. So you will find the link down in the description. So after the installation, and I suggest you follow the instructions on the repo for the installation, and the link is down in the description. After the installation, we create our project from scratch. So in Cursor, the first thing we do is opening the terminal. Then I open the side panel for to see the files that are created. So the first command to use is specify init. This command will initialize our project. What does it mean initialize? It's going to ask you a couple of questions, actually 1 question, which is what is the type of script you want to use? I use a Mac, so I'm going to use shell. And if you use Windows, you can use PowerShell. So once you decide this, it's going to set up your project. Now, as you can see, on the side, you have new files. But before looking into them, let me show you, if you have a different coding agent instead of Cursor, what you can do. So what you need to do, you need to type spec init --help, and in the -AI, you have the list of AI assistants that you can use. So there are a number of that I don't even know what they are. I know Copilot, for example, and Gemini and few others. So you can choose which one you want. Now, if we go back to our folders, we can see that we have a list of new Cursor commands, so SpecKit and the various command. This will be integrated in your coding agent. So every time you type / now this command will appear. And more importantly, under specify, we have other files. So I want you to pay attention to the templates. So if we open now the Constitution template, this is the first file we're going to work with. And in the Constitution, we have all the rules and the principles of our project. So now this is just a template. I'm going to show you how we can create our own Constitution. So what I have done here, I am invoking the command with /specKit constitution. And the first thing, I'm providing some context related to the actual project. So this is a backend project, the technologies that I want to use, and the architectural style that I want to use. Then after that, I specify that I want to have high testing standards. And if you see, there is also I am very specific with the coverage that I want. So I want my code to have 80% test coverage. Then I specify the documentation standards and the agent behavior. So once we do this, we can proceed, and it's going to take a while. So we're going to speed up this part. And as a result of this, we are going to get a constitution inside the memory folder. So in this folder, we don't have the template anymore, but we have the full constitution that is an integration of all our rules in the format of the constitution. So it's following the template and contains all the rules. So now at this point, you are supposed to verify the rules that are still in line with what you wanted. And so now in SpecKit, this is one of the pillars of how it works. And if you look in the constitution, we have one section called governance. And this one is very specific and very clear. This constitution is the highest authority document for the project. All code reviews, automated checks, and agent-generated code must comply with the principles above. So what we are saying, we are asking the agent to not just create code and generate code, but also check against the constitution. So we don't want any violation of our rules or our principles. So after we do that, we can proceed with the next command. So the next command in the SpecKit sequence is specify. So what we're going to do, we're going to invoke /SpecKit specify, and here we're going to specify what we want to build. So I came up with a very simple project. So what I'm building is a backend for a book library app, and the app allows users to add info about books that they have read, adding a description, rating 1 to 5 stars, personal notes. And the app also allows users to create a wish list of books that they want to read. Okay, so this is very simple. It was just an example to show you how SpecKit works. So by starting the command, we're gonna have a number of things happening. So there is a new folder called specs with the name for our spec. And inside we have a checklist and a spec.md. So the checklist are all the things that we want to make sure we have in our specification. So our specification should focus on what we want to build, not how. And if you look in the checklist, all the requirements, they are about the quality of the spec. So, and one of the things is needs clarification. So if you see any flag of needs clarification in the spec file, then it means you need to iterate a bit more. So you need to go back and forth with the AI agent to make sure no needs clarification flags are in your spec. So as you can see here, we have 16 out of 16 checks passed. And we also have a list of user stories. So now what we need to do, the next step, and is going to be suggested at the end of the message as well, is to run SpecKit plan. With SpecKit plan, we're going to create a plan to implement these features. For this command, you don't need to pass anything. You can just say SpecKit plan, and it's going to generate an entire plan. So this part will take a little bit of time. And here is going to generate an entire plan for our specification. So lots of new files have been created. If you see, these files will be used for the next phase to generate the tasks and then the code. So now that we have the plan, we can review the plan, we can see if we agree. If we agree with the plan, we can proceed with the creation of tasks. So this command will just break down the plan into smaller tasks, and as we're gonna see, all the tasks will be grouped into phases. So now at the end of this phase, we have 62 tasks to complete with 6 phases. So the 6 phases go from the initial setup of the project to the final bits where we polish what we have created. So now we are at the last command of SpecKit, and the last command is implement. So when you run the /SpecKit.implement, you have multiple options, because you can say implement everything, and I highly discourage this option because it never worked for me. Generally what happens is that is trying to do too many things, and the context window gets filled and the result is suboptimal. It doesn't work. What I generally suggest, if you look at the tasks, you can decide to go for individual tasks or proceed for phases. So if each phase is not too big, you can say for phases. In this project, what I have done, all the 6 phases, I have just asked to implement phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, up to phase 6. And it worked without any problem. So now at the end of the implementation of phase 1, we can see a nice summary. And this is quite useful. If you see, it tells you exactly what has been created, the list of files that have been modified, and what is the next step. So the next step for us is phase 2. I'm not going to go through all the 6 phases because it's going to be pointless for you. So now what we're going to see is the third point of this video. And this is about how easy it is to make your app unbreakable. So in the example in this video, we have created a project from scratch, but what if we already have a working app and we want to make it unbreakable? So the good news is that SpecKit really shines on existing project, and you can use it to create tests that protect your app, especially your backend. And to do that, you need 2 things. One, a constitution that is focused on testing best practices. And again, you can use AI to generate a constitution. And 2, in the specification, whenever we use the specify command, we don't add new features, but we create tests for the existing ones. And in this way, what we're going to do, we're going to create a protection for our code. And in the future, if we break something with code changes or adding new features, our test will fail, telling us exactly what broke. I have made this other video here that will explain step by step how to fix your backend. Thank you for watching and bye!